you know what you did? You put here, what about the metal and the fiber clad? You said you're supposed to be 3 inches for solid core doors. Is it the same for metal clad and fiber?
A solid, a metal clad or fiber clad door is also a solid door.
Oh, okay.
They would also be solid. They just have a cladding, a finish on the outside, which is either going to be metal or fiberglass. But it's also, the difference is though, what makes those clad doors solid, it's compressed foam insulation, which gives it a better R rating than a simply just solid wood.
Because I have to go online and see what I've metal, because I'm heard
All
about metal or fiber.
doors will be solid, regardless of what kind of cladding or finish they have on the outside. A exterior door is always solid.
Okay.
You never want a hollow core door on the exterior of the house because number one, you're not going to have a good R rating. Number two, it's going to be very easy to break that door and get in if you had to. All right. Excellent. Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to go over our door jamb assembly again. We'll take a look at when we are building our own interior door jambs, a couple of methods which are very good and strong. We will show you one method which you definitely do not want to do. And then we'll show you a method which is very easily put together and widely used, especially when we're building a cookie cutter builder's home. A lot of carpenters that build a cookie cutter builder's home will use the last method I'm going to show you because it's very easy, quick, and it allows you to make minor adjustments. See, today with new construction, ladies and gentlemen, the majority of the settling takes place in the first 2 years. So when the house is settling, the way we assemble the door jamb in this fashion allows us to make, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, allows us to make minor adjustments very easily. That being said, let's take a look at some very good examples. So we talked about a door jamb, the door frame, door jamb assembly. We have a side jamb. We have another side jamb. And then we have the header jamb. The method I'm going to show you now with the header jamb is the one, after I show this to you, I want you to forget about it. This is how you do not want to assemble a door jamb. You see we have the side jambs right here. Okay, we do not want to put the header jamb in between like this. Okay, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a no-no. Even if we screw it or nail it from there, gravity is going to make that thin material in time sag. We don't want to do that. That's not the right way. Okay, and if there's any movement right now, this can open up and we can see clearly an ugly gap. We don't want to see ugly gaps. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about finished carpentry, we want to look at something that looks like beautiful finished furniture. It needs to look nice. When we start to see ugly gaps, not nice. And when we get a gap like that, this is going to want to drop very easily just from gravity alone. So this method is 100% wrong. Do not put your jamb assembly together like that. On the other hand, what we may want to do, I'm going to show us the two strongest methods of assembling a door jamb. What we want to do is we have our side jamb right here. We're going to put a notch in it like that. That notch is called a rabbet joint. We're going to put the other side jamb over here. it also has a rabbit's joint. And then the piece that sits on top, ladies and gentlemen, goes like this. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call a rabbit's joint. Grab a different color marker. Let's grab a black marker for Sylvester. A rabbit joint. Okay? Very, very strong. We nail it together, and then we have our door jamb assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, another great tip. Build your door jamb assembly on the floor, just like that. And then you want to stand it up. So you build it on the floor, and then you're going to stand it up and put it in your rough size opening. Then you can adjust it, plumb it, shim it with your shims, and nail it. So when we are going to put a door jamb assembly in a rough size opening, we plumb it, we shim it, we nail it. Don't use screws, ladies and gentlemen. I see people use screws, makes my stomach curl. Don't use screws. You're not going to have enough play to make minor adjustments. In one of our next boards I'm going to put up here, I will show you the nicest and easiest way to install a door jamb assembly very easily without making a big mess. All right? But for now, this is a rabbit joint. Very good method. It locks the door jambs from wanting to move in and wanting to come down. Very good assembly like that. You will find this assembly, we do this a lot in custom homes, right? Of course, money, 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 money. Money talks, ladies and gentlemen. When you pay more to have a job done, the job gets done better. Now, I'm not saying that when you don't pay a lot of money, we don't do it right. We just may do an easier method, which doesn't take as much time. But when we have the time to do the work, and we have the person that's paying the money to have it done right, this is the way you want to do it. Am I making sense? Let me show you another method, but the header jambs. So these are what we call here side jambs. And this is what we call a header jamb. All three of them are jambs, but that's the header jamb, and these are the side jambs. Fair enough? Now, that being said, before we take Julius's question, let me show you another very good method. This method, we want to make sure that we take our measurements precise because it's going to start to compromise the rough size opening a bit. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Very similar to this. I'm going to take this off. We have the top of our jambs, side jambs. The header jamb, we're going to cut it like so. And I'm not going to make these connect right now so we can see exactly what I'm talking about. So this jamb and this jamb go in to here. This jamb gets locked in here, and this jamb gets locked in here. This is what we call a dado joint. we need to have a little bit extra material on each side to create that little groove. Am I making sense? That's a dado joint. Also a very good joint to use. We can easily achieve that with a router or a chisel and hammer. Dado joint. Let me show you now the simplest and quickest method, which a lot of carpenters use. Of course, they might want to also, when we do joints like this, especially if it's a important job, we want to use white glue in the joint as well. That being said, this is very strong. We put a nail in here, a nail in here. That's not going anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, right? Now, let me show you another very simple method. Simply put, ladies and gentlemen, all we need to do now, again, very similar to the first one we saw that was wrong, but the difference is this one sits on top. So here is my jamb over here and over here. The header jamb sits on top, just like that. And when we nail this together here and nail this together over there, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call a butt joint. All right? We nail it here and nail it here. We put it in our rough size opening, and then we can plumb it, shim it, and nail it. Making sense? Let's take a question from Julius right now. Julius, you're on the air.
So this door jump is nailed on the jack stud, sir?
Okay, so now, that being said, once we assemble the door jamb assembly, okay, imagine if you will, okay, this isn't the right size, but this is the right thickness. So we have one side jamb, the other side jamb, and the header jamb. Once we've got that assembled, we stick it in the rough size opening, and then in between the header jamb and the dummy header, we're going to use shims, 6 inches in on each side. Shim, shim. We want to nail into the shim, into the shim, into the header jamb, the dummy. On the sides, we're going to nail the side jamb through the shim and into the jack stud. Making sense, Julius? So now that being said, in our next illustration, we're going to show us precisely the best way to install a door jamb assembly without having to fill a bunch of nail holes, all right? When we are going to be nailing, when we do finish carpentry, ladies and gentlemen, does anybody remember what kind of a hammer we want to use when we're doing finish carpentry? Do we want to use a heavy hammer? Do we want to use a light hammer?
Light hammer.
And how light?
Not to damage the...
Yeah, so we might want to use something like a 16-ounce hammer. Something from 16 ounce to 20 ounce is a good weight for finished carpentry. Of course, when we do framing, or what we call rough carpentry, we want to use a heavier hammer. So when we are doing finished carpentry and we're using a hammer and nails, we want to use what we call finishing nails. When we look at finishing nails, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if I've got any here. Here are 2 finishing nails in particular. Do I have any more? What I've got here, ladies and gentlemen, that is a 1-inch finishing nail. Please mute yourself if you want to have a private conversation going on. And just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, you are in the middle of a class. Really, whoever you're talking to, tell them to save it until 4 o'clock, okay? Tell them you're in a serious course here and you want to learn. We don't need the interruption. So if you have private conversations, at least for the, you know, your classmates. For the courtesy of your classmates, mute yourself, okay? But on a personal note, if you're really here to learn, you shouldn't be having conversations with somebody else in the background right now anyways. Sorry if I'm being a little bit rough on you guys, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking out for your best interest. Now, that being said, let's go back to our nails. Hopefully we don't have any more interruptions. These are finishing nails. You can see the head of the nail is not much fatter than the shaft of the nail. The head of the nail, not much fatter than the shaft of the nail. This is a 1-inch nail. That's a 2-inch nail. We gave you a chart of the penny sizes previously, if you remember. All right. Maybe we'll have to get into that later on. Now, if you're using a hammer and finishing nails, never put your nail in all the way with the hammer. Because if you drive the nail in all the way with the hammer and you miss the nail, you're going to end up bruising your wood, and that's not going to look nice, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody wants to see bruised wood, all right? Instead, when you put your nail in, you're going to bang your nail in almost all the way in, okay? You're going to put your nail in as deep as you can, and then you're going to finish putting that nail in. Let me see if I've got any here to show you. Normally, I have a couple here. One on this side. Oh. Give me 1 second. Oh, here's one here. Stuck in the bottom of this. Get it. I'm almost got it. Almost got it. Stuck in this bag here. You're going to use a nail punch. This is what we call a nail punch. So what you'll do is you're going to put your nail in as deep as possible. Then you put the nail punch on top of it. Then hit it with the hammer in all the way. And when you do that, you're just going to create a little tiny dot like that. And you can put a little bit of wood filler over it. And you're done. Just like that. Don't bang your nail in all the way with your hammer. Put it in most of the way and then finish putting it in with a nail punch. And then you just have a little tiny dot to fill in with wood filler. All right? If you're not going to use a hammer and nail, what you will be using is what we call a brad nailer. I may not have shown you a brad nailer. Let me show you a brad nailer right now. I should have one here. Give me 1 second. Now you can get these in a variety of sizes. This is what we call a brad nailer, ladies and gentlemen. All righty. They basically come in 2 different sizes. You can get an 18 gauge or a 16 gauge. This is a 16 gauge brad nailer right here. Of course, you're going to connect a compressor to this. You stick the hose on. Okay? Here are the nails. Okay? There would be the nails right here. Okay? And there you go. You can stick nails in this one here. This will take a nail from 1 inch to 2.5 inches long. What's in it right now is 1.5 inches long. All right. So they come in a variety of lengths. When you shoot this into the wood, it already creates that little tiny dimple for you to fill in with wood filler. And this is what a brad nailer would look like if I were to show you just a brad nail, simply put. Once it shoots it out, it's going to look like that. That is a single brad nail. Right? Now, when we do finished carpentry, you'll see today more and more finished carpenters are using brad nail. But if you're going old school, you want to use finishing nails and a lighter hammer. Fair enough? Now, that being said, we don't want our piece of wood, once we put it in place, we don't want those door jambs to look like Swiss cheese once we're done. We don't want to have a million little holes to fill with wood filler. That's not going to look nice. It'll look ugly. Even if we're painting the trim, we want to, we want to make sure we're not creating a big job for ourselves. I think we have Waleed has finally joined us. Abdul, are you here now? Abdul, I think I saw you trying to come in. Are you there now, Abdul? Waleed.
Hello, sir. Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. We're going to have to get devices that are working a little bit better so you don't miss the whole course.
Yeah. I don't know, somehow my phone was not working today.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I tried to log into another device, but
okay. Well, you're finally here. All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm just going to mark you in here. Abby, no signs of Abby today. Abby, I think I might have received an email from Abby. I'll have to check my emails. But Abby's not here, and Peter also not here. Peter is really taking the Edmonton Oilers loss really bad, I think. Anyhow, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue. What we're going to show you now is the best way, or a very efficient way, to put your door jamb assembly in a rough size opening. By the way, Julius, remind everyone, if I've got a 36-inch door, what's my rough size opening for that 36-inch door?
38, sir.
By?
38 by 82 anyhow.
Fantastic. You know what? We know windows could be a window pane. But that being said, if we're talking about windows, Shamir, if I have a window that's 40 inches by 40 inches, what would be the rough size opening for that window?
41 and 41.
Fantastic. Just like that. No fooling around there, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? Just saying that, Shamir has the window already almost installed. Excellent. Well done, Shamir. Now, that being said, let's take a look at, we're going to, in this little scenario, we're going to recap a bunch of things that we've already talked about. All right, so let's take a close look here. Imagine, if you will, we are now standing in the rough size opening, looking towards the jack stud. Okay, so we're in a door, rough size opening, and we're looking towards the jack stud. So, again, a recap here for us. Can somebody give me two common, well, you know what, Waleed, why don't you give us two common wall stud sizes?
can you repeat again your question, please?
Can you give us two common wall stud sizes?
Wall stud sizes.
Did you want to call a friend?
I'm gonna call a friend, yeah.
Okay. Esperanza, can you give us two common wall stud sizes? Esperanza in the house. We can't hear you, Esperanza.
Yes, I'm here. Oh, sorry.
Yes. Can you give two common wall stud sizes?
2 by 4, 2 by 8.
Whoa. Wall stud sizes.
Wall size.
Wall stud.
Sorry. 90.
2 by 4 and 2 by
2 by 6.
just like that, ladies and gentlemen. It just
What
came.
did I say?
Just came to her. So here is a 2 by 6 wall stud. Godwin, can you give us the honor of letting us know what is the most common thickness of drywall?
The most common thickness of drywall
Yes.
is half inch.
Half inch. And how thick is half inch drywall?
Come again?
How thick is half inch drywall? Take your time.
It's official drywall.
How thick is half inch drywall? Let me say it slower. How thick is half inch drywall?
It is.
I got it. The thickness.
Let's call a friend. Let's call a friend.
inch.
Abel. Abel,
One-
how thick is half inch drywall?
Half an inch.
Half an
Yeah.
inch. Imagine that. Imagine that. So let's put half inch drywall on this side
I'm an HP.
and half inch drywall on this side. Half inch drywall.
I'm an HP.
2x4 stud and half inch drywall. So half inch drywall here and here, plus my wall stud. What is this measurement from here to here? How wide do I need to make my door jamb material, Marco?
32 inches.
How wide does my door jamb need to be to cover the half inch drywall and my 3.5 inch stud?
3 by 8 inches.
5
Who would like to
inches.
enlighten?
4.5.
4.5
5 inches.
4.5 inches, Marco. Look at this. Half inch plus half inch,
That is 1.
3.5 inches equals 4.5 inches. Excellent. We got some important information coming from Moses now. Moses?
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you for muting yourself. Maybe we didn't have to hear that noise in the background. Thank you. All right, so now we know how wide our door jamb material is. Agreed? So for understanding what we're gonna draw now, we're just gonna draw the door jamb material. So here is my door jamb material right here. You know what? Let me just draw everything all over again. So here is my door jamb material now. For a 2x4 stud wall, common drywall, we know that is 4.5 inches. There is the top of my door jamb, and of course, on top of here, we have the header jamb. Are we good there, ladies and gentlemen? So right now, we're just looking at the door jamb. Again, another tip. When we're looking at blueprint drawings, ladies and gents, and you see something like this, it's telling us that that's continuing. That's what we call a break line. So this door jamb material, it continues. Now, here's another great tip or a bit of information that Jamal wants to give us now. Jamal, can you tell us what is the thickness of an interior door? Let me turn this thing on. Speak right into the microphone. What is the thickness of an interior door? Oh my goodness. Is this a door or a vault? My goodness. So that's a thick door. 3.5 inches thick. What is the thickness of an interior door, ladies and gentlemen? Who can give me that thickness?
1.5.
1 into 3 by 8 or 1.5.
Shamir says interior doors are either 1 3/8 of an inch thick or 1.5 inches thick. Remember that? Well done, Shamir. So again, when we look at a door, this thickness over here is going to be, for an interior door, it's going to be 1 3/8 of an inch or 1.5 inches. That's the thickness we're talking about. All right. So now that being said, when a door is in a closed position, it's going to be flush with one side of the door jamb. So the door thickness is going to be 1.5 inches right there. Let's say that is the thickness right here. There's my door. Okay, which is 1.5 inches. Now, that being said, another bit of information. Can somebody tell me, what do we need to stop the door from swinging right through the door jamb assembly?
Door stop.
Stopper.
Door stop. Now, door stop trim and molding, when we talked about door stop trim and molding, it comes in a variety of sizes. It can be as skinny as 3/4 of an inch. It could be even as wide as 1.5 inches. Most commonly, it's going to be about 1 inch, 1.25 inches. So imagine, if you will, we're going to put the door stop behind the door to stop the door from swinging through. Of course, we don't put the door stop on until we finish hanging the door. But just so we know that the door stop is going to start here. And it's going to be, let's say in this case, approximately 1 inch. So here is my door stop material. That's where we're going to be placing the door stop when we're finished hanging the door. Why am I making note of this right now? Because what I'm going to show us now is going to make us do a nice, neat, clean job when we're going to plumb, shim, and nail our door jamb in place. So we put the door jamb assembly in the opening. We want to plumb it with what? Shims. So we're going to grab our shims, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry? So no, what we're going to do is we are going to assemble, imagine, if you will, of course, this isn't the right material, but just to help us understand or get a bit of a visual, we're going to assemble the door jamb, the side jambs, and the header jamb. We're going to assemble it together on the floor. I'm going to just try to do a little bit of a balancing act. And then we stand it up, and we want to stick it inside the rough size opening. When it's in the rough size opening, we want to make sure that we plumb it, square it, and level it as well. Okay? So we've assembled the door jamb assembly on the floor. We now put it in the rough size opening. Imagine this being the door jamb material here. Okay? So what we're going to have now is we want to shim it. We're going to plumb it with our shims. And what we're going to do, we're going to grab one shim from this side, one shim from this side. We want to slide it in behind, in between the door jamb and the jack stud. So where do we want to put our shims? We want to put them directly behind the hinges. So from the top of my door jamb, how low am I coming to place my hinge? So what would this measurement be from here to where the hinge is going to get placed? Here's my hinge right there. So let's call this, I'm going to move that. Let's call this the hinge. Where do I want to place that hinge? From here to here. What's that measurement?
6 inches.
Well, on the door, it's 8 inches. On the door jamb, I want to make sure it's 8 1/8. Okay? So on the door, this is the door itself over here. So this measurement is 8 inches. So this is where the hinge is going to get placed when I'm ready to hang the door. So I will mortise the hinge on the door, and I'm going to mortise the hinge on the door jamb. So on the door jamb, okay, this measurement here on the door jamb is 8 1/8 of an inch. All right. Now, where am I going to place my shims? I'm going to place the shims. I'm going to slide one in from this side. Okay. And I'm going to slide one in from the other side. All right. So we got the shims are going in. Making sense there, ladies and gentlemen? Now, not making sense? Here's the jack stud. Okay. Here is the door jamb in front of it.
Okay.
Let's imagine the hinge is going to be over here. When we're done, there we go. Let's imagine that's where the hinge is going to be located. Oh, I should have made that a little lower. So let's put the hinge over here. Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get one shim over here and one shim over here. I'm going to slide them in, one from one side, one from the other side. When I slide them in, I'm going to be able to put my door jamb material plumb. Okay, I need a level. I will be putting a level along the door jamb. When we're putting door jambs in place, good idea to have a couple of levels on hand and a framing square on hand. For your side jambs, if you have a nice 4-foot level, you can level from top to bottom very easily. Header jamb, depending on the size of the door, you might need a torpedo level or a 2-foot level. All right?
So,
Now, that
sir,
being said, once we make the adjustments with our shims, do not put nails into the door jamb and the shim right away. Because once you put the nail directly in there right away, you will not have the ability to make any minor adjustments. Okay? So what you're going to do, what I do, is I put a nail where the doorstop is going to end up. You see where the doorstop is going to end up? I put a nail just below the shim and just above the shim. That keeps everything nice and snug. But if I need to make any minor adjustments, if I need to pull these out a bit or push them in a bit more, I can still move them because there's no nail inside it yet. Okay? So this allows me to plumb things, but still make minor adjustments, because this might be just the top hinge. Then I have to do the center hinge. Then I have to do the bottom hinge. Once I got all of that taken care of, then I'm going to confirm that everything is nice, plumb, level, and square. Once I'm happy, then I'm going to come, I will put a nail here in my shim. I'm going to put a nail in behind where the hinge is going to go. When I put the door stop on here, nobody's going to see those nail holes. I'm going to cover all those nail holes. I don't have to worry about putting wood filler over all of these nails. When I put the hinge in its place, nobody's going to see that nail either. I'm going to put a nail on this side as well, okay, to make sure that everything is locked in. And then all I have to do is put some wood filler over there, and my piece of wood is not going to look like Swiss cheese. I don't have to fill all those nails. Once I put the doorstop on top with my finishing nails or brad nailer, then I just have to cover the nails that I put in my doorstop. Making sense, ladies and gentlemen? So that is a good way to plumb, shim, and nail your door jamb material. When we put a door jamb in a rough size opening, what do we got to do? We got to plumb it, we got to shim it, we got to nail it. Now, I've got a question that Abdali is just dying to answer. Abdali, if I assembled my door jamb assembly and I go to put it in the rough size opening and it's too high for the opening, what do I have to do?
Sorry, sir. Which place?
Okay, so I assembled my door jamb and I go to put it in the rough size opening, but it's too high for the opening. What do I need to do? Any suggestions, ladies and gentlemen? Go ahead, Samal.
This from the
we will-
bottom.
Salamu, you were saying?
Yeah, we will remove the dummy header and adjust the cripples and move.
Well, first thing we want to do, if the door jamb assembly is too high for the opening, first thing we're going to do is we're going to check and see, is the opening the right size? Now, if the opening is the right size and my door jamb assembly is still too high, what do I need to do?
The first thing is if there is a measurement, if
Ladies,
the measurement is
bottom
not
one.
right,
Okay,
you
hold
will
on.
cut.
You trim it.
Okay.
Check the door size.
Someone is saying we trim it. Who's saying
Yes.
that? Is that Moses?
Moses.
Yeah. So we would need to cut the bottom of the door jamb. If the rough size opening is the right height and the assembly is too high, we obviously made a mistake when we measured the side jambs, so we would need to cut them. And then they're going to be shorter and it will fit in the opening. So if a door jamb assembly is too high for the opening and the opening is the right height, we'll need to trim the side jambs. Huh. Amazing. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's take a question from Jamal. Go ahead, Jamal. Okay, so now imagine, if you will, that's a great question. So we've adjusted, we put the shims in behind the door jamb material. Okay, and now you're right, we will need to cut the exposed shims. You don't want to do that. That is the last thing you're going to do. So once you hung your door up in place, you're going to check to make sure that the door is swinging properly. You're going to check once again to make sure everything is nice and square. Once everything is square, pretend this is the door jamb material, and here's the shims in behind. What we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is, because we can't leave these sticking out. Do you see any shims sticking out on each side of your wall right now? No. What we're going to do is we're going to get our utility knife. We want to put the utility knife on an angle like so, score the shim on this side. You may need to pass it through a couple times. On this side, again, keeping the knife in this orientation, so when you score it, it's going to put a cut behind the door jamb. And when you score it on this side, you want to hold the knife this way. So again, it's going to put the cut in behind. Then all you have to do is just snap it. And when you snap it, it's going to break behind the door jamb like so. We don't want anything sticking out. Even the slightest amount is going to give us a problem, because then if you take a look at your door right now, from the door jamb to the drywall, what do you see around the door?
Trim.
No. You
Trim.
see the door trim, right? We see the door casing. If you look at the door opening in your wall, around the door, you see the door casing. Remember what window and door casing? Well, that door casing, ladies and gentlemen, if I can find a piece, here's my door jamb. Here's the door jamb in the opening. You're going to now see, if I can put some drywall in behind here. Here's the drywall on your wall, okay? And the door casing is now going to hide the gap between the door jamb and the drywall. Now that casing sits like that. It hides the gap. If we were to remove the casing, we're going to have the drywall going to the edge of the jack stud. And then behind the hinges, you're going to see a shim. Okay, you're going to see something like that. We don't want to see that. You don't see that in your room right now. What hides that is the door casing, covers all of that. Now, when we put trim or molding, which when we're putting that trim around doors and windows, we call it door or window casing. When you put that trim around your door or window, you never put the trim flush to the outside edge. See what I'm doing right there? See how it's flush right there like that? That's a big no-no. Do not do that. That's not how we put trim around doors and windows. What we need to do is what we call a reveal. We want to leave a reveal. That reveal, ideally, you want it to be no less than 1/8 of an inch, no more than 1/4 of an inch around the door or a window. So what is a reveal? I want to start my trim or my door casing. You see how I've got that little bit of a step in there now? That's called a reveal. This is easy to fill with a wood filler or a caulk like this, a DAP. Okay, then I smooth it out. That will not fall out. And it's going to make your door or window trim look even nicer. So we always create a reveal. You never want your trim around doors or windows to start right on the edge. Because even when you put a wood filler, if you start right at the edge, the wood filler is going to fall out and you're going to have an ugly line. And if it doesn't line up properly, you're going to see something like this. You might see it. You look from the back side, it might stick out ugly like that. It's not going to be good. We always want to leave a reveal. And a reveal also makes it easier if I need to adjust this to make the door look nice and square. I can still make a minor adjustment when I have a reveal. Okay? So when we put the trim on around doors and windows, we create the reveal, we put a nail in the trim, in the casing and the jamb, and then we put another one into the jack. Remember, in behind here, we have the drywall. In behind the drywall, we have our jack stud and our king stud. So one nail goes into the door jamb, one nail goes into the jack stud. Foot lower, door jamb, jack stud. Making sense, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, myself personally, I do not like to have a reveal less than 1/8 of an inch. So me personally, I will not put a reveal any, that there is the minimum reveal that I would put. Okay, so personally, I do not go less than 1/8 of an inch of a reveal. I like 3/16 of an inch, which is going to be right about there. And that gives you a nice reveal, and you still have a lot of material to nail into. Now, here is another very important tip. When you're going to put a reveal around a door, see, as much as I have a preferred reveal, what we also, here's the smart thing you'll want to do. See, the reveal is going to go all the way around the door, right? Always start on the hinge side when you're going to do a reveal. Because when we talk about the hinge, remember, this is what we call oh my goodness, this is the barrel. This is what we call the barrel, right? Depending on the design of the hinge, sometimes the barrel could be a little bit fatter and sometimes it could be a little bit skinnier. Well, we don't notch the trim around the hinge. So what we do is, of course, it's going to be a little bit hard for me to show you because we didn't create a mortise in the wood. But when the hinge is flush with the surface, okay, we are going to have, this is what's going to help us determine the reveal. I'm now going to make the trim go up to the hinge, just like that. And that is the reveal I would want to use with this hinge. You see it there? So always when we put a reveal around the door, always start on the hinge side. That will allow you to keep that reveal consistent all the way around the door. If you start somewhere else and you use a smaller reveal, and then when you get to the hinge, if the hinge is too fat, on the one side, you're going to have a larger reveal. And then when somebody looks at it, they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. Am I making sense there, ladies and gentlemen? So we always want to leave a reveal around doors and windows when we put our door and window casing in place. Great tips there, ladies and gents. Before we go any further, let's take a question from Patricia. Go ahead, Patricia.
I just want to clarify, is it 1/8 or just 1/8 for the reveal?
Okay, so
You twist your tongue a while ago.
1/8 of an inch would be the
Okay.
minimum reveal I personally will use. Okay. If you go with less than an 1/8, then it looks like a mistake.
Okay. So it's
And
1.
So 1/8
Okay.
an inch. My preferred reveal is 3/16 of an inch, which is 1/16 more than 1/8.
Right.
The maximum reveal I will use, and what determines this, sometimes you'll find with some exterior doors, you might end up having to leave a reveal as much as 1/4 of an inch. So anything between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch is acceptable. On windows, sometimes, windows already come with a window frame. And sometimes on windows, the window frame can be fairly large. So on a window, sometimes you might find you might use a slightly larger reveal. But ideally, anything between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch is a nice reveal.
Okay. Thank you.
Ready then? Next on the line, we have Moses. Moses, moving on to our next caller. Moses, you're on the air, sir.
You talked about the shims. By cutting the shims, can't we just remove them? Like remove them?
No, because if you remove it, why? So let me ask you this, Moses.
No, after making farm. Yeah.
Okay, why did we put the shim? Why you need to mute yourself right now because you got a lot of background noise. Why did we put the shim there in the first place? What was
stabilize?
The purpose of the shim was to make the door jamb plumb. Right? So once we make that door jamb plumb, if we remove it, what's going to keep it plumb still?
No, nothing.
No.
Teacher, after nailing the whole frame.
Right. So we want to nail, once we've got the shim in place and everything is good, we're going to nail through the door jamb, into the shim, into the jack.
Mm.
The shim is what's keeping the door jamb plumb. Once I nail everything, if I remove that shim, somebody moves that, nothing is gonna stop it from moving anymore, and it's not gonna stay plumb anymore. We need it to stay in behind the hinges, across from the hinges, and in behind the striker plate. Does that help there, Moses? Excellent. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Any other questions before we continue? Anyone? Anyone? Are we good? We're making some good ground here now, ladies and gents.
I have a question.
We have a question from Andrew. Go ahead, Andrew. You're on the air.
Yeah, now you see you are put shim up on the header, but
So
it means
sorry,
but it means
okay. Just let me stop you there. So you're saying now the header jamb, we also need to put shims there to make sure that the header is nice and level as well.
yeah, exactly. But don't you think we need also shims from the bottom, because it will be forced and it means it will be lying on the floor. You have to remember, I said we need to leave a clear
I'm sorry.
length.
Do me a
for the
favor,
dog to
Andrew.
swim.
Start your question from the beginning for me.
Okay, you didn't talk about the shims for from the floor. Yet they are supposed to be all.
So on interior doors, there is nothing on the bottom of a door.
No, they're supposed to be clearance.
Sorry?
They're supposed to be clearance between the floor and the door. So that's why you need to put also shims down.
Okay, maybe I'm not hearing you right, but when we are looking at an interior door, on the bottom of an interior door, all we have is a floor. So on the bottom of an interior door, we need to have a 1/2-inch gap so the door can swing freely. And we also need to have that 1/2-inch gap so when the door is closed, air can still circulate from one room to the other room.
Yeah, what I'm saying,
what
I'm saying, you are put shims up. Those shims from up, they are pushing the door down. So the other clearance will left behind on the between the door and whatever. It will be reduced.
All right. So the header jamb, we put shims in between the header, dummy header, and the header jamb to ensure that we're putting this nice and level. Now, this side and this side are already sitting on the side jambs. If the side jambs are the right length, all we need to do is make an adjustment. So the first thing we actually adjust when we're going to put a door jamb in place is the header jamb. So we secure it, and we want to make sure that from the header jamb to the floor, we have 81 inches. Why 81 inches? Because from here, we need to go down 80 inches for the door, 1/2-inch gap between the door and the floor, and we still have to put the finished floor in place. There's no finished floor yet. When we put the finished floor in place, then the door and the door gap is going to be approximately 80.5 inches.
I get your point, but what I'm saying, the door, okay, the forces will act on the door and you be forced to go down on the floor. That's what I was saying. We need to put something down because you said the shims are up on the hinges, then the other side of the striker. We didn't talk about the bottom. You know what I'm saying?
The bottom of my door jamb is going to sit right on the subfloor. It sits right on the subfloor. Now, if the subfloor is not level, I might need to put something underneath it just to make sure that my header jamb is level.
Okay.
You're overthinking it a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I just want to remind everybody, everything we're talking about in theory, when you go to the school, you will be practically putting doors in as well. So whatever you might find a little hazy right now, when you go to the school and install a door, you're going to go, oh, now I see. Okay? Yeah, so let's try not to overthink it completely. I know what you're saying, Andrew. You're saying, what do we got to put underneath the jamb this way? Well, this, if our floor is level and we cut everything proper, it's going to sit right on the subfloor. Okay? And then if my floor is level, when I have this side jamb here and this side jamb here, then my header jamb will also be level. Okay? But if my header jamb is not level, you're right, I might need to raise this side a little bit. And to raise this side a little bit, I might want to slide a shim underneath the bottom. Did that help? Excellent. Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about rough size openings for doors and windows. We're understanding that really good. Door stops, again, on an interior door, we are going to install it. Exterior doors, I'd like to talk a little bit more about an exterior door. Exterior doors typically will come with a door jamb already. Now, a exterior door, if I can show you from above the profile of an exterior door jamb, it's going to look like this. The inside of the door jamb for an exterior door is still going to be 5/8 of an inch. Can somebody remind us, what is the common thickness of an exterior door?
1 3/4,
1 3/4 or
2 inch.
2 inch.
2 inches. That's right. So exterior door jamb, this is still going to be 5/8 of an inch over here. Okay. This, depending if my door is 2 inches or 1 3/4, the door sits in here. Here's the other door jamb. Okay. There's the other door jamb right here. This is also 5/8 of an inch. Okay. Exterior door jamb. Just going to remove this over here. On the back side, that's going to be 1.5 inches. Oops, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. Okay, this on an exterior door from this side to here is my door stop material on an exterior door jamb. Did that make sense? Now, exterior doors, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, are the easiest door to install. Okay? Very, very easy to install because an exterior door, unlike an interior door, at the bottom of my door jamb, we also have, if you look at your front door, you'll also have what we call a threshold at the bottom of the door. A threshold. And that threshold slopes outwards. You're going to have an aluminum step, aluminum threshold. It slopes outwards. So when rain or snow or anything hits the door, it rolls away from the door. and it prevents the water from going inside the house. If you look at an exterior door, at the bottom, you're going to have this little thing, which is called a threshold. Okay, and that threshold, here is where the door is going to sit. The door sits over here, and your exterior door at the bottom, it's got what we call a sweep, which we can adjust. And we can also adjust this here on the threshold. So we can close that gap. So when you close the front door, the rubber seal on the bottom of the door gives you a tight seal so air does not come in. And then if it's raining on the door, the water is going to run off of the threshold. Because exterior doors have thresholds, here's a great tip. When they assemble an exterior door and when it's going to get shipped out, what they do is they put a strip of wood near the bottom and a strip of wood near the top to keep the door in a closed position. So the door doesn't swing open and close while they're transporting it. So when they do that, they lock the door in a square position. It's already locked in a perfectly square orientation. All we need to do is we slide the door in our rough size opening. If the floor is level, all we do is we shim it on both sides and at the top. An exterior door, we could screw that in. Okay, because it's more, we're looking for a good permanent. So we can either nail it or screw it in place. Exterior doors, I will screw the door jamb in place. Excuse me, I'm getting all choked up here. Now, that being said, that is how we would place our exterior door. I'm going to show us another great image, a cross-section of an exterior door. And in this example, we're going to show you a reveal on the inside with our door casing and on the outside with the brick mold. So here's a great picture I'm going to give you all now showing you an exterior door. Bear with me as I look for it. There we go. Here's a little drawing I drew for us. Alrighty. Hold on a second. Okay, where are you guys? Take a picture of this. This is giving us a good cross section here. Okay, so imagine, if you will, we've taken the roof off the house. We could see the top of the brick. We can see the wood sheathing on the house. We could see the drywall on the inside of the house. Here's the jack stud, drywall on the inside. Here is the interior door casing. You can see we've got a reveal here. There's the edge of our door jamb, and there is the edge of the door casing. That's the reveal. Okay. And this is what I was actually just drawing on the board here for us. And if we scroll down, you can see even on the outside, here's my brick mold. The brick mold fills this gap over here between the wood sheathing and the door jamb or window frame, and it fills the gap between the wood sheathing and the brick. But even when we put brick mold, we leave a reveal. You see the reveal on the outside? There's a great little picture here. You may want to take a picture of that. All good, ladies and gentlemen? All righty then. How are we doing on time? Okay, it's almost lunchtime. Everybody's got this picture. We can get rid of it now. Anybody got any questions for me at this point? Anyone? Anyone? Okie dokie. So, what else? Well, when we come back from lunch, there's still a few more things we'd like to talk about. For example, we talked about, who can remind us, at what height do I want to put a doorknob?
32 to 40.
At what height do we want to put a doorknob, ladies and gentlemen?
36.
36 inches from the
36
bottom of
inches.
the door to the center of the doorknob. Well done. Okay. And how about a deadbolt?
I've
That
put
would
it
be
52.
52 inches.
40 to 52 inches
40
from
to
the
52
bottom
inches.
of the door. Excellent. Now, on that note, let's talk about different types of doorknobs. Okay. And so why don't we do this right now? I'm going to, on my board, let me grab some things. I'm going to just move some things out of our way here. What do we want to look at now? We're going to grab this board over here. We're going to write down a variety of different doorknobs. Okay, so let's put here at the top, doorknobs. Number one, the first type of doorknob we're going to talk about, if I can get this thing out of my way, I'm just going to open something up. Is what we call a passage knob. A passage knob is the most common doorknob you're going to find in any home. Passage knob. A passage knob, ladies and gentlemen, allows you to open and close a door from either side, but it will not allow you to lock a door. Okay? You can push the door closed, the striker pops in, and then it pops back out. It will keep the door in a closed or open position. A passage knob. You turn it from either side. Of course, when we look at doorknobs, we either have a round knob that we turn. Okay? When you turn the doorknob in either direction, we can open or close the door. We can also get doorknobs that might look something like this. Okay, you push the doorknob up or down. Well, when you push this down or you pull it up, this is still rotating either this way or this way. Making sense, ladies and gentlemen? So we have lever knobs, we have round knobs. Passage knob, ladies and gentlemen, all we have to do is turn the knob or push that up or down and the door will open or close, but it will not lock. That is the most common type of doorknob you will find in a house. Number two, the next type of lock we're going to talk, or doorknob we're going to talk about, is what we call a keyed knob. A keyed knob, ladies and gentlemen, will do everything that a passage knob does, but it now allows us to lock a door or unlock a door. Just like the name implies, you're going to need at least one key, and most cases, a keyed knob from the outside of the door, because in most cases you want to lock things up, so we can lock the door from the outside. One side of the doorknob will have access for a designated key. You will have to have the proper key to stick in the doorknob on the one side to lock or unlock the door. Making sense? Now, that being said, when we talk about keyed knobs, some people might be looking for extra security. For example, you might have a front door and there is a window very close to the doorknob. Some people might think somebody's going to break the window, reach inside, and turn the doorknob from the inside to open the door, right? So to make that doorknob more secure, we can also get keyed knobs that require a key on the inside and the outside. More security, but if you forget your key anywhere, you can easily lock yourself in or lock yourself out. Making sense? So we have keyed knobs. After a keyed knob, ladies and gentlemen, another knob that all of you are very familiar with is called a privacy, also known as bathroom knob. Of course, when you go to the bathroom, you can lock the door from the inside. And if it's locked from the inside, nobody can come in. But if there's an emergency, privacy knobs are designed that you can unlock the door from the outside. You don't have to have a designated key. For example, if you look at your bathroom knob on the outside, you might see a little tiny hole on the doorknob or a tiny slot, okay? If you have the proper little key, of course, this key will work on any door privacy knob. You stick it in the hole and you turn it and you will pop the door open once again. So privacy knob, of course, when somebody's in the bathroom, you go to the bathroom, you say it's locked. You know to wait. You know there's somebody in there and you're going to wait until they come out, okay? But if there's an emergency, maybe someone's in the bathroom and something happens, or maybe your child locks himself in the bathroom and you want to get them out. Well, you know how to unlock it. We don't have to have a designated key. A lot of the ones that have a little tiny hole on the end, as long as you have a skinny screwdriver or even a skinny nail, you stick it in the hole and it's going to pop the door open, just like that. When I install privacy knobs or bathroom knobs for a customer, I show them how that key works, and then I show only them. What I will do is I get the key and I put it on top of the door casing at the top of the door. So only they know where it is. We don't want the kids to know where it is, because then they're going to be playing games all the time and then they're going to lose the key. Okay? We need to know where it is. So if we have to go in there to get them out, we can get in there to get them out. Making sense? So we have a privacy knob, which we can lock, but we don't have to have a designated key to open it. After our privacy knob, we have another type of knob, which really, most of the time, this knob, sometimes it's there just for decoration. And sometimes, for example, including even in your own home, you might have a door knob, which you don't even have to turn the handle. All you have to do is either push on the door to close it or pull the door to open it. It's stationary. It doesn't even move. Sometimes they move, but they're really not meant to move. And when you see this knob, they don't have a striker. It's just a door knob. It's a knob by itself, ladies and gentlemen, which we can either push or pull. A lot of closet doors, we just push the door shut or pull the door open. There's no striker. There might be a little latch at the top of the door with a little ball that when you push the door in place, it stops the door from opening and closing. But there's no striker. We call these doorknobs dummy knobs. Huh? Dummy knobs. Huh? Dummy knobs. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put one more thing on this board. It's not a real doorknob, but it does have a striker, and you will need to use a key. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about this already. This is optional. A lot of people like to have this on exterior doors for extra security, and that is a deadbolt. Now, a deadbolt, it works very similar to a doorknob, but we have the control to lock it and unlock it. Okay? The striker, we have the control to either put the striker in a closed position or an open position. The striker does not do anything by itself. All right? So when we look at a common doorknob, if you were to look at your doorknob in your house right now, the striker is going to look something like this. It protrudes out of the door like that, and it's going to be curved, just like that. That's it from one side, okay? Or if you're looking at it from the other side, it may look something like this. You've seen that? It pops in and out. It's curved on the one side. That curve, if I can show you this, let me come here. Let's see if we got an image of a striker here. Here's a great example of a common striker. Okay. This is a common striker here, ladies and gentlemen, for a passage knob, a keyed knob, or a privacy knob. When we look at this here, ladies and gents, you can see how it is curved on the one side. Oops, let me grab the right marker here. You'll see how it's curved on this side and straight on the back. Well, this thing over here, that is the striker plate. It's also curved. So the curve on curve, it makes the striker roll in so the door will close. And then once the door is in a closed position, the striker plate, at lunchtime, take a look at the striker plate. When you look at your striker plate, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see in the middle, there's going to be a hole that the striker pops back inside. And that's what keeps the door in a closed position. Am I making sense, ladies and gentlemen? Give me a thumbs up. Are we understanding that? Fantastic.
Yes.
So this is a common striker for the doorknobs that we were just talking about. When we look at the striker to a deadbolt, I'm going to make a point of showing these to us in a short bit. I'm going to add a deadbolt to our list, but keep in mind it has a striker, but it's not like your regular doorknobs. But we will put it down on the list. Sorry? Yes. Yeah, so that was that was what that was, but I wanted to just show us the striker there and everything. So deadbolt. Let's take a picture of this now, ladies and gentlemen. These are a variety of different doorknobs. All good, ladies and gents? Excellent. Anybody got any questions for me at this point? Anyone? Anyone?
No, my picture turned out blurry. Can I retake it, please?
Okay, do this. Do this, Rashid.
No, it's my camera because I have it. I don't have a case on it.
Okay. Let's try this one more time.
All right. Hold on, I'm seeing somebody else's face now.
All righty then. There we go. Remember to mute yourself, guys, so it doesn't come
All right,
up.
thanks.
Very good. Is it still blurry?
Sir, dummy knob.
No, it's clean. It's clean. It's clean now.
It's clean now? Because I was just gonna do an eye test with you right now. Rashid,
Sure.
how many fingers, Rashid?
That's 4.
You have to go see an eye doctor. Because there's 2 fingers, 2 thumbs. You're seeing double, my friend. Anyways, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're on a roll here. It is basically 10 after 12 now. Why don't we break for lunch? When we come back from